Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-filled discussion for the Apple original series Severance Season 2. This podcast is mysterious and important. Praise Kier and welcome outies to the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Nate S., and this is our spoiler-filled discussion for the Apple original series Severance Season 2. Huge thanks, as always, to our wonderful friends at Apple and, by extension, Lumen Industries for bestowing upon us this resplendent season of Severance. If you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast celebrating the world of movies, TV shows, games, egg bars, dance experiences, and all things geek-centric. Now, I'm pleased to introduce my fellow refiners with me today. And listen, as I introduce them, please try to enjoy each fact about them equally. First up, his outie enjoys being a father. His outie enjoys photography. His outie enjoys editing video. His outie is trepidatious to share details about his personal life. His outie is allergic to peanuts and cashews. His outie enjoys pretending to buy things for his daughter that he's actually buying for himself. His outie enjoys late night walks to get bubble tea. Please welcome Justin L.
That's fairly accurate, I feel like, as that's a very astute observation of my outie.
Yeah.
Well done, Miss Shelton, Mr. Shelton. Or is this Milchek? Is this your Milchek? Like
Nate S. I don't know
Nate
where
S.
I'm going with all this. Okay, we're making
You're
it up.
more of a
as
Miss
we go
Casey
along.
right now, but whatever.
Yeah,
There
he went down. He started as Milchek and then kind of transitioned to Miss Casey. So I'm digging the vibes.
Listen, this whole episode is going to be a mystery for our listeners to sort of dissect as we go along. But listen, thanks to the board and by the grace of Kier, we have another refiner joining us today. His outie enjoys collecting too many things. His outie enjoys the thrill of a mystery box. His outie enjoys music of a comedic nature. His outie is allergic to fish. His outie enjoys buying gifts for others. His outie often has breath that smells of cotton candy or strawberries. His outie enjoys the way his curly hair blows in the wind. Please welcome Darcy H.
I mean, that's very nice about my breath, but I don't think it smells like that after,
I want to know why he's
like,
getting so close to your breath.
Yeah, it's
though, right?
concerning that's what he's bringing up.
For sure. Yeah, that I wonder what your outie is.
Do you have any ideas? What does he enjoy?
On the spot here?
He enjoys a good meal.
Enjoys a good meal.
He enjoys the frivolity of a good
frivolity.
meal.
My outie enjoys the ABC television series Lost. My outie enjoys spending money he doesn't have.
Very accurate.
Your outie enjoys starting games he never intends to finish.
Absolutely correct.
Your
spending
outie
that money on those games.
Your outie loves to use the tongue in a lot of facial expressions.
Okay, I wasn't quite sure where you were going with that, Justin L. But
the pause was concerning. It's like, where's this going?
Listen. Okay, enough about our outies, guys. We are here.
We're innie now. We are innies. Let's do this.
We're on the inside. We have a bunch of answers and more questions from this finale. But before we get all the way to the finale and all the incredible moments, I wanted to kind of start off by talking about the rise in popularity of Severance since season 2 started. Like, it feels like this show, deservedly so, but it feels like it's really blown up. Like the amount of memes and videos and theories that I'm seeing, kind of on internet and on TikTok and on Instagram, it feels like it's significant. It feels like the world is taking notice.
I think a lot of that has to do with maybe people missing it 3 years ago, and maybe now catching up with it over that 3-year period. And now we're here at season 2. So while that space might have sucked for the people who actually stuck around for season 1, it did a lot of wonders and excitement for people who were finding this show and then, suddenly coming into season 2. But it does feel like it is, there's a lot more attention. I know it is like one of the most watched shows on Apple TV. It's the most successful. So and rightfully so, but yeah, like it's great to see that community sort of flourish with season 2 and with all of the new mysteries and answers and theories that are out there.
Yeah. I think it's funny that like normally a time gap like this would tend to hurt a show when it takes so long to come back, but I feel like it's complete opposite. Like just from saying, it gave people time to catch up to this. It gave people time to recommend it to more friends, and then those friends would go on to recommend on it to more people. So like it is very much this word of mouth talk about these theories because it's so wild and out there and quirky. Like it is such a talking point show that that time for people to talk about it really just grew, I think, the fandom for it.
Yeah, and even to the point of like, it's not something that you can really talk about unless you've seen the show, right? Like in
Exactly.
detail. So when
Yeah.
you're telling people, and you might bring things up like it's quirky, it's weird, it's a little sci-fi, there's mystery, like it's all of these things. And on paper, when you hear those things, it sounds interesting, but you can't really make explanation as to how it's all blended together. And even if you were trying to explain it, so it is about telling people, you just got to watch it. You got to watch it, and you'll understand. Like that's usually the conversations that I have. Have you watched Severance? Oh, you haven't? You just got to watch it, right? So that's the sentiment I think that everyone has with this show, because you can't talk about it with someone unless they've seen it, right?
Well, and I mentioned my outie being a big fan of Lost, and obviously there's some really great comparisons between the greatest show ever made on television in that era.
Calm down.
And
you're
the greatest show.
outie.
Hold on. And the greatest show in the streaming era. I really do think so. I think this is it's a revolution, and I'm really happy to be a part of it and on the ground floor. And I think the thing that Severance has that Lost didn't have is the amount of activity online, right? It is the accessibility of these, sort of the social networks that are out there. And I feel like had we had this back when Lost was happening, it would have been a completely different experience. So I'm happy to be in on the ground floor for a lot of this stuff, and like even to see the marketing pop off, right? Like seeing the stunt that they pulled at Grand Central Station was so cool, or just all the videos they've put out behind the scenes that they've sort of added and put on the end of each episode has been amazing. And there's also this really great YouTube video that you can check out, which is that Apple TV put out, that is it's just 8 hours of chill Severance music, with music done by Odessa and Theodore Shapiro, his score, and it's absolutely phenomenal. So if you need something to study to, and you're like, you want to get the Severance vibes,
it's like a lo-fi vibe.
Yeah. It's fantastic. I used it while I was writing notes for this. It's so good.
Yeah, that's cool. That's great. It's Apple's going the distance with really kind of creating immersive marketing experiences especially with Severance, because it is meant to kind of feel that way. I understand what you're saying about Lost not having, I guess, the internet and the fandom. It was always there, though. I feel like people were there. It just wasn't necessarily like memed or video created and
I think
stuff
it was
like
more
that.
water cooler, though, Justin. Like it was more having those conversations.
Sure, it may have not lived in the digital era, but it still had the same sort of word of mouth and the same sort of impact. I think these shows are actually like, they share a lot and they also differ in many ways, right? Like they share a lot in the sense that they are the mystery box show that has people talking, has people guessing, and it's that week to week experience of watching this show that really heightens it. I think we underestimate the value that a week between episodes actually has, and spacing them out and not giving everyone all the episodes at once. I think for the audience experience, it's a lot more interesting, and you get to spend time sit with those episodes. And I think that's one of the biggest things that both Lost and Severance have been able to capitalize on, is keeping that mystery there, and keeping it going from week to week, making your audience really just want to come back for more, and really appreciate the story. And I feel like Severance is probably set up for success because it is within a streaming platform, whereas obviously television syndication, it's harder to predict. Now shows are signed for a certain amount of seasons. Lost was a show that wasn't really signed for as many seasons. It wasn't until towards the end that it was like a rush. It's like, okay, well, you're getting 6 seasons, so you're in the middle of season 5 now, you got to do season 6, and that's
Figure
it.
it
You know
out.
what I mean? Figure it out. Exactly.
Yeah.
So whereas I feel like this show knows where it's going to end. It has to.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the episodes week to week. We got to start our experience with this season watching them, watching up to episode
6.
6. I was trying to remember. Sorry, I've been through the barrier too many times. But I kind of wanted to talk about some of these episodes that we watched, but in more spoiler detail. What were some of your favorite episodes of this season? And I can toss it to either of you
Yeah.
to chime in.
Well, I think I remember I said my favorite one was episode 4
Mhm.
during our spoiler-free review, and just I think the fact that that one starts off in the middle of the ice, or with Irving in the middle of the ice, and Mark up on the mountain being like, "I don't know how we got here, just come towards me," type thing, and just how disorienting it all was, and then eerie with those doubles they're seeing
Oh,
as they're being guided. Like, just everything about that episode was so good, especially with the reveal that Helly was just Helena the whole time this season. So it's like, yeah, everything about that episode to me, I think, really set the bar rolling for that early half to be like, there's big stuff will happen in this season if we're getting to this point now, type thing.
yeah, and like you said, the way that they throw everything at you, and I think I mentioned this on the spoiler free, but like the fact that I had to text you and I was just like, Darcy, what's going on? Did I skip an episode? Where are we? And the fact that that puts you right in the exact position of our lovely Innie crew. Dude, there was just so much happening in that Orpo episode, right? And I think
So much.
the amount of emotion on all sides, like getting Mark getting to know, yeah, like Helena a little bit more, getting a little freaky with her, but not knowing it's Helena. But then Milchek yelling at Irv in the loudest voice I think we've heard Milchek up until that point. And then I wanted to bring this up again, and I think I mentioned to both of you this about this episode off air, but I wanted to mention this incredibly horrific moment that I had that I've never had in ever before on anything on screen, which is that I was sitting in a dark room watching Irving getting freaked out by the half woman over to his left while he's having this horrific nightmare, and there's all these moths going up against the screen, and there was some big giant ass fly in my room at the time that I didn't know about. So to see a bug fly into the bright monitor and then fly off of my monitor or off my TV and back towards, I was, dude, it scared me so much. I had to turn the lights on. My brain broke because I thought that these bugs were in my actual room. So
Yeah, the fly was a paid actor, actually.
dude,
Apple went that far.
how did they, Ben Stiller, if you're listening, how did you get this fly to, that's incredible. It was so good. But yeah, the Orpo episode was absolutely something special. Justin L., how about yourself?
I think for the spoiler free, I said 6. I
Mhm.
think I said 6. But I think now I would say 7.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, seven's fantastic.
7
Mhm.
for the way it deals with memories. It deals with the relationship that we have with memories, how our memories bind us as people, and looking at that through the lens of whether it's Mark or Gemma. I think that was such a beautiful episode. That was also
Mhm.
Jessica Lee Gagne's episode, who I was able to have the opportunity to chat with. And I remembered I saw it before you guys, and I just remember saying, like, to you, like, all I could say was like, it's the most different episode from what we've seen.
Yeah.
And it really is.
Yeah.
And the way it's shot, the use of film, the way the memories feel granular, with the texture and the way that they're shot, some of the best cinematography, some of the best use of camera movements, and just so dreamy and wondery. And it's I said it's hauntingly beautiful,
Mhm.
because it's also like watching what Gemma's going through and having that revelation of what they're doing to her. It's sad. It's really sad. And to understand what Mark is looking for at the same time, because he was passed out from his reintegration. I guess we can call it the reintegration boost that happened in episode 6.
Mhm.
He felt that those effects, and you can see that, like, it doesn't matter really, like, they're both experiencing those memories that we witnessed in episode 7 together. And I thought that was really beautiful. I thought it was really poetic, and such a great way to kind of just bring this idea of the subconscious and how we're tied to it. So yeah, that was my favorite episode 7.
Yeah. And I think it's just the fact that you're just talking about like how subconscious and how it's both Mark and Gemma reliving these memories almost simultaneously and looking at the last episode and finding out what he's been doing this whole time. And
Yeah,
just it adds again more to that mystery that you're just like,
absolutely.
oh, it was there the whole time. Oh my God, I got to go back and rewatch this stuff with a whole new lens. Like this series is
Yeah,
so good.
yeah. And that's the fun thing about it is once it gives you answers, you go back with those answers and try to see where they were hinting at that all along. Like it'd
Where
be
does that
interesting.
apply?
Yeah, especially I'm almost interested now with just rewatching season 1 in relation
Mhm.
to that, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, Darcy was saying before we started recording, he's like, "Oh, I wish I could have watched all the episodes leading up to this discussion." There will be time before season 3, I'm sure, but I wanted to just chime in on episode 7. It absolutely is my favorite episode of the series as well, Justin L. I think the fact that, like you said, the way it captures memories on film is just so beautiful, and you can tell that it's a cinematographer who got to direct an episode, and you can see that. And I think like one of the hardest hitting moments in that episode is the slow transition from warm to cold. And Jessica does such a good job of capturing that. But seeing Gemma share that beautiful moment of telling Devin that she's pregnant, like without actually saying anything, just across the table, just how it just transitions right into the terrible moment of her miscarriage and how cold and sterile that scene is, and then right into Mark S's conversation to Miss Casey. It's absolutely heartbreaking, and I love the little details in the writing that, like, apparently Mark's last words to Gemma in that episode were "I'm sorry," and technically up until this point, Miss Casey's last words to him were "I forgive you." And I just thought that was so cool, the way that worked and the way they were able to close that off. And it's just such a brilliant episode of TV. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I also really enjoyed episode 8 as well.
Mm-hmm.
The dive into Cobell's history
Oh
and figuring
man.
out where she came from, and just that whole ordeal was incredible too. And some
that's
other
yeah.
beautiful cinematography too. Just the scene of her lying on her mother's bed as the
Oh,
sun passes in the window and it moves through the room is just again, it speaks volumes. It's such a little happening. You feel everything that character is going through. Is so well done.
and I will say we're not done with that. I think that there's
Oh yeah.
more to explore, not just with Cobell, but like what happened there. And
At the Ether Factory.
at the Ether Factory, and it's enough. There's enough there to kind of understand what has happened, but really, what were the good times like?
Be
Right?
cool
Like
to get a bottle episode of like
I think
young
we
Cobell.
might, and it would be very lost if it did, where it was like, you got to see how the others operated on the island before, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you would get to see how Lumen was operating in this town when they were
Pre-Severance.
exactly pre-Severance, and it was
Yeah.
prosperous, and they were helping the town, and
she's working on her first project, right?
yeah, and
like,
you see these little glimpses and these little cracks of like how whatever they're doing there is negatively impacting the town and the community, and you have that foresight of knowing where they're inevitably going to be. It would be interesting to explore. There's a lot of potential there. I feel like we will come back to that, and maybe Cobell will be the vessel and how we experience that.
Cool. Well, listen, you two, I think it's time for a dance experience. I want to break out into some defiant jazz right now.
I figured you would bring up the waffles first.
The waffles. Listen, we'll have a waffle party at some point. Don't worry. But I kind of want to get a little jazzy with it, and instead of focusing specifically on a specific episode, let's pop around this entire season and just talk about, were there any like really favorite, like standout moments that you wanted to mention, whether it just be an interaction or a sequence, or is there anything you noticed, like little details that you wanted to bring up? I think the big one that surprised all of us to kind of kick things off is hearing our main man, our Canadian love of our lives, Keanu, as the Lumen building. I remember Justin and I were on a phone call. It's like, that was Keanu, right? Like,
you were like, "Is that Keanu?" I'm like, "Yes, that was Keanu Reeves." Yes. And the fun fact, and the fun fact about that is learning that Ben Stiller had originally asked Barack Obama to be the voice.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That would have been pretty cool too.
That would have been awesome too. But
Yeah.
he apparently conflict of time and so on and so forth. But
Yeah.
that's so crazy that he wanted to get like Barack Obama. But then the follow up to that would be Keanu Reeves. I can probably see like how the sort of voice resonance would work, right? And like because you could see Barack having a very chummy sort of personality voice, right? I could see him pulling
a Lumen.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I could see, and he would do it with that like sort of that smile in his voice,
for sure.
But yeah, it was wild. I remember you called me. You're like, that's Keanu Reeves. That's Keanu Reeves. I'm like, yes,
so good.
That is 100% Keanu Reeves. But I was shocked, and I thought it was pretty cool. And he wasn't in the credits, so he's an uncredited cameo, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of any like little bits that or Easter eggs or anything like that. But I mean, one of the things we talked about in our spoiler free was a haunting moment in, I think it was episode 3 or 5. Was just when Milchek is like disciplining himself with the paper clips.
Oh my gosh.
It's like just watching him put the paper clips on the paper.
Yeah,
by the end of it, his hands are shaking and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was just, was it 6? Yeah, whatever it was, whatever that moment was, it lives in my mind. Just again,
that's another one. Yeah. That's
how much he's acting without just putting paper clips on. You can feel the pain that he's inflicted on himself here, and just again, what has he been through? It makes you more interested in the character, of course. And again, Milchek is the one we know very little about. So hopefully next season we get a bit of a deep dive into that, because he's so good this season.
Trammell Tillman just absolutely rocked it this season. Another moment I wanted to kind of bring up was him seeing the paintings for the first time that were redone, the Kier redone as a black man.
The black edition?
And, right?
Yeah, it's so weird.
And then his exchange between him and Natalie about the paintings, right? And I just thought like, wow, like that was just we often talk about, I think we bring it up almost every other podcast, but acting with your eyes. And wow, these two absolutely just did so good with it. Oh my gosh.
That was a moment where it's like they both realized how out of touch what they were looking at really was.
Yeah.
But they had to put a face on, or you know what I mean? But their eyes said otherwise. So yeah, I think that Trammell, he was a kind of like the MVP of this season. He flexed so much. And he
both in his acting and in his beautiful white shirts and sweaters and stuff. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Nate's very much an admirer of his body. But I think
sorry.
I think the thing that really stood out to me, and it's like you said, Darcy, is that like his character was very relevant, but also still behind the scenes enough that we didn't get enough of him. We don't understand enough about his character, and I think we need to learn more about him. What season 2 has done has definitely opened the door to wanting to know more about him, and you get to see these moments where like you pointed out, Nate, like where he's kind of cracking, right? Like he doesn't quite fully believe in all of this.
To put that monosyllabically, eat shit, Mr. Drummond. It's so good. You immediately, I remember we talked, you're like, devour feculence?
Like, so cool. Yeah. It was a great line.
So good.
Yeah. So I think that he absolutely shines in this season. And the final episode, the whole back and forth banter between him and the robotic Egan, right? Like
after him taking off from the room with Dylan.
Oh, that was awesome. Like, so Wes Anderson,
and he just turns and runs. Like,
it feels like it's in fast forward in that moment.
And I think like that was so Wes Anderson. I was just like, what is going on right now? But he was swamped, as he said, so it made sense.
Well, I'm also swamped or inundated, as he would probably say if he wasn't trying to work on smaller words, with some little details. I also wanted to mention 499 Half Loop Road is where Lumen is located. It was revealed this season, which is so much fun because this is done by Apple, and for that to be a play on Apple's Infinite Loop, I think is kind of cute, and it's fun to see. I mean, again, knowing Apple and just how sort of buttoned up they can be at, in certain instances, to see them sort of having fun with it and play with it. And I think it was fantastic. I also wanted to mention that I noticed that Mr. Drummond has frolic tattooed on his hand. What do you guys think that means?
I don't know. I think it's clearly got something to do with his whole priest role that we see towards the end of the season, or the end of that first episode. Again, we don't know much about him, but there's that weird cult mentality behind the surface that clearly the goat room and all that is tied to. So
it feels like it's a nice way of saying how gangsters will have they'll name their knuckles.
Sure.
They'll name their name.
So his left fist is frolic.
Frolic. What's the other one?
Right fist is woe or something. Amazing. Frolic and woe. Jeez. And then I wanted to quickly ask what both of you thought before we kind of dive into the finale and actually get into all that and talk about the amazing moments in this final episode. I wanted to just ask, another moment that really stood out to me was, I wish you'd take them raw. What do you think that James meant by that? Helly is sitting there.
Think he meant?
She's eating some eggs. I wish you'd take them raw.
He wants them to take the eggs raw. Raw. But I think there's something about the raw eggs or something like that. It's part of their belief system, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Again, don't quote me on that, but there was something to do with the idea that there's a purist way of taking these eggs.
Okay.
Helly chose to do them cooked and boiled, whereas I guess raw would be sort of this empowerment moment, if
closer
you will.
to Kier.
Closer to Kier. That's all he cares about. That's all he cares about.
Oh gosh.
There you go. There you go. Another one. But yeah,
that was a full write up for you in our next quarterly
that
meeting.
that was I think the one thing to talk about, at least with this season, that was really heightened for me across the board and every way, is just how weird and strange and sometimes haunting or scary something could be, but then there was always a comedic beat. She's eating eggs, it's really weird, it's a really strange thing, and then he says, I wish you would take them raw. And it's in that moment I chuckled. And that's I don't necessarily know what he's entirely mean. He wants her to eat raw eggs rather than boiled eggs. Okay. But the fact that again, maybe this is where Ben Stiller really does come in to kind of bringing a dark comedy humor touch to this. It's just knowing when to insert comedic beats. And even in this finale, there was a couple that were just
the
bizarre.
moment, let's get into it. The moment with Mark and Scout
and Drummond and in the elevator, and he fires the gun off, and it was so funny. I couldn't help but laugh. I know it wasn't supposed to, but there was just a comedic thing, because he was telling him, okay, you're gonna take my outie, and then he didn't realize he was gonna fire the gun, and he ended up doing it. I chuckled. Or when
I was thinking more when he finds that woman, I can't remember her name is, but the Gemma assistant woman or whatever, and he's pointing the gun at her, and she's like,
open the fucking door, open the fucking door. No,
fucko, no, fuck you. It's just they keep yelling fuck you at each other, and it's so funny. And I was why is this so it felt slapsticky, but it didn't take me out of it. And I think that is the beauty you're saying,
how their comedy is
when we get into dark comedy. That 100%.
It's exactly it. I even thought it was super hilarious when James Egan's just watching this thing, and then he goes, fuck. Fuck. It's so good.
He's upset.
This is it's just a great example of how the show knows where to interject comedy that, like you said, doesn't take you out of it, but just makes you chuckle at how bizarre, quirky, strange, or uneasy this all is.
Fucked up it is.
Yeah, how fucked up. Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's get into this finale titled Cold Harbor. And I want to just kind of we'll dive into different elements and talk about different moments in the episode. I wanted to kind of start off with I guess it's where the episode starts off with Helly and James, who I double checked. It is James Egan and not James Egan. I've been calling him James this entire time. But,
oh, really?
Okay. Yeah.
For the clarity.
But there's such an incredible shot that Jessica gives us of Helly and James silhouetted. She runs up to him, and she's like standing there, and she's all threatening, and it's just that beautiful, like, bright wall behind them that turns them into just these black silhouettes. Thought it was so cool. But I wanted to ask both of you a question that it kind of got me thinking, which is, he says, "What a funny speech you gave at the party. I was cross with you after I threw a tin of candies." And so he talks about, I sired others in the shadows, but he wasn't in them either until I saw him again in you. So what do you guys think that means? I was thinking that, to me, I was like, this entire time, I'm like, oh, is there a severed version of James Egan? And is this him that we're seeing interacting with Helly, given the fact that he brings up the party and kind of explains to her what happened. But then I started thinking about it. I'm like, oh, no, wait. The last time he would have seen Helly would be when Helly Helly was giving the speech at the party. So
Yeah.
that theory kind of moved its way on out, but I still think there's something up with James where maybe he's sick, he's dying, or something along those lines. What do you guys think?
He's just a weirdo, man.
Yeah. I also think it might have something to do with these personalities that you can find in there. Like the fact that this whole season, Mark has been revealing new personalities for Gemma.
Yes.
As he's filling out these files. Like, what Helly was working on? Was she picking apart her own brain and maybe trying to find, again, a personality that embodies everything Kier stands for?
Sure.
Like, was Kier coming again? Because, again, there is a like weird culty aspect about it where it feels like the whole goal is to bring back Kier in some way, so he can spread his light again or whatever.
Yeah, well, they reference the fact that he is dealing with pain, right, in this episode. And if you compare that to what both, even just siloing it to Gemma and Mark, they're dealing with pain. He's dealing, he forced himself to be severed so he didn't have to deal with the pain of losing his wife.
Interesting.
And Gemma is in this state of being removed from her life, and she's dealing with the pain all on its own. And it's almost like how both of their pain ended up finding each other, right? Because unknowingly, Mark is building personalities that seem to almost be coming from his outie, like being inspired from his outie, and which is why he's able to recognize these numbers and contain them, because there were some interesting parallels to what was being said in the episode in their past. Like there was a made mention of having to write thank you notes, and then she was forced in a room on a holiday with that
writing
weird creepy writing thank you notes.
Yeah.
So this idea that Mark's outie is instinctually connected to his innie, which has forced him to be successful at this job, and why he probably is excelling in it, because his pain is fueling that. I think at the core of it is understanding pain, right? Like even when they're watching her, it's like she feels nothing. She sees, when she's in that room, she doesn't recognize that the severance barriers are holding. I think the severance is meant to somehow negotiate pain in a way, and enhance that and to a certain degree, numb it to a certain degree that allows for better focus. It's like using your pain to be stronger.
Interesting. I mean, we do get that line of Mr. Drummond with the goat. We commit this animal to Kier and his eternal war against pain. And I also like what you're saying there, Justin, about the idea that instinctually the outies and the innies are still connected, and in a certain sense, but in a certain sense, that's what Cold Harbor is all about, is trying to disconnect them. Right? When Gemma is going into that room, or Miss Casey, or I guess it would be Gemma in that moment, is going into that room, and the baby carriage is there, or the baby bed is there.
The crib is what it is.
Sorry, my outie is not a father. Okay,
I know but I think you know what a crib is.
Sure, yeah. Listen, sometimes larger words escape me, and we call them baby beds. But the idea that she does not feel anything in that moment. And he's like, the doctor's like, that's beautiful. And I also really love the fact that this episode does highlight so much the communication between the two of them. And I the fact that you're bringing up the concept of them being still somehow interwoven or linked, Outie Dylan getting to communicate directly with his innie through the letter was so beautiful. Hearing Dylan come to that conclusion that his innie is all the things that his wife misses about him. And so he hopes to be like
jealous,
him someday. I think that's beautiful. And I really love the fact that this episode is kind of showcasing that so much.
It's nice that we are seeing something positive come from Severance. The fact that they're inspiring each other to continue to try and do better type thing through the conversation. What I think is cool, going back to the whole like memories and Mark and Gemma being interconnected, I think that explains a lot of why Miss Cobell was asking all those questions in the first season. Like, do you remember anything? Do you know this? Like, because she's like, there's a reason why you're being so successful, because no one has done 25 files like that. Like, that's a big milestone for the company. Right. Clearly it's something about the fact that they know each other on the outside is leading to this success on the inside. So yeah, again, this whole thing is what the end goal is that Lumen's up to. Like, we understand now that what they were doing, what the files and numbers are for, but what is the end game for Lumen? And that's
I still think
I like.
Yeah, I still think they're trying to find a way to integrate past Egan members into Severed Minds. I think that they're trying to figure that out.
How does the goat play into all of that? Like the stuff like that. I think
like,
the fuck keeps growing.
Yeah, I know, and I feel like the goats really symbolize a very religious, culty,
ritualistic. Yeah.
This
quality
beast will be entombed with a cherished woman whose spirit must guide to Kier's door.
So was the intent that they would kill Gemma, put this goat with Gemma, and this goat would guide Gemma's spirit to Kier? That's what I was thinking. Right?
I was getting that Gemma was going to be put in the goat. That's what I was getting.
No, because that thing was going to kill the goat. We know that is a like.
But what did he say?
Rifle that they used to put down animals.
Yeah, no, exactly. They were putting it down, and like that's a classic. That's an old school.
That's like cattle.
Yeah.
Like cattle ranching.
Old Testament,
gun, basically.
Yeah, that's Old Testament. That is definitely Old Testament. But he says something. Did he ver? Has he verred?
Is he verved? I think it's like, does he have like verver? Like, is he like energetic?
Or I think again, if it's in relation to ritual sacrifice like that, it's probably something to do. Has he reached puberty?
Oh, has his balls dropped?
Yes.
Okay.
Has he verved, or has he like something along those lines? Probably.
He didn't look like it. It looked like a young goat.
That's exactly the reason. Why are you sacrificing a young goat, not one of the old ones? It's because they need the young ones for the purity. Again,
I see. Okay.
That's what it's all coming back to. Sorry, while we're talking about these goats, I got to talk about that Gwendolyn Christie fight scene.
Oh my God.
There. I mean, the fact that Adam Scott has gone on record saying he's such a massive fan of Brienne of Tarth, to get to be in the hallway while she's going full Brienne,
the big woman
on Mr. Drummond. It was such a great scene.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And I think she again, for as little as we got of her, like when we got her in the episode where we got to see that room, was awesome. But I kind of was feeling like, oh, is that it? Like, that's all we get. And then, so for her to come back in this big way was so good. I wanted to kind of keep going into some other aspects about the episode. The communication, as I brought up earlier, but the sequence between Mark S and Mark Scout, and going back and forth between the room was so cool. And just the performance that Adam Scott gives in this moment to act off himself was so well done. What did you guys think?
I loved it. And also like the way it was shot too, where they were sitting in opposite chairs, kind of facing each other while they're just looking down at this camera. And just, again, the way that he was bringing so much emotion to both sides, it was incredible. Yeah. It was a wicked scene.
Yeah. And it was cool. Cause like you said, like it's two chairs on the inside where the innie is obviously talking, and then there's two chairs on the outside where the outie is talking, and the way they would cross dissolve between the inside and the outside, because they were sitting on opposite ends, and it just felt like it was a conversation that we were watching. But I just love how Mark Scout gets so annoyed. He's like, he's a freaking child. He's talking about himself, right? Like, he
is, though. Like, technically,
he is 2 years old, technically.
But like, you have to wonder if the shoe was on the other foot, how would Mark Scout react? That's the other part of all of this, right? Like when you look at something like Helly R and when you look at Helena Egan, like there's something interesting about James Egan says that he sees Kier in this Helly R version, right? Like of his daughter. I don't love my daughter, he says, right? And I thought I saw Kier in her, and I didn't see it until that day when you came in there and gave that speech, right? Like there is a recognition here of understanding how these innies might be sometimes the best or worst version of any of these characters, right? But they still share a very like cohesive mentality, right? Like it's like as much as he wants to say that Mark S is being a child, you can't deny the fact that he's not wrong, right?
Yeah.
That's why you're annoyed, right?
And they both kind of want the same thing.
They do,
right?
But for for their other significant others, right?
Correct.
Like it's interesting. That's a very the talk of the epitome of a love triangle. Let me tell you.
Jeez, it's like going in different directions and stuff.
Yeah.
I want to, we've been bringing up Kier quite a bit. Praise Kier. I want to talk about the Kier bot in the room. Crazy gave me a lot of BioShock vibes. Darcy seeing a robotic, figure of someone who doesn't exist or isn't alive anymore. I wanted to kind of ask though. Because I love that they have that Milchek and him have that back and forth banter, like they're on like a
regular
late night show or something.
Or late night show hosts.
So good,
so awkward.
It was so awkward. But
yeah.
did Kier? Was Kier responding in real time? How do we?
Well, it wasn't Kier, wasn't it? It wasn't Kier. Was
it someone else?
No, but
it was
I'm pretty sure that was supposed to be Kier. Yeah,
it was Kier Egan.
He said that the leader wants to be like bear witness to your great triumph or whatever.
But how would they? How were they like that? Didn't seem pre-recorded because they kind of have some jabs at each other. And I don't think they would have pre-recorded Milchek calling him
Seth.
a wax
and he also
model.
called him Seth, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He went out of his way. I think it became very clear. It started as if it was something that was pre-recorded, but when he turned to him and said, "Boy, are you verbose."
Yeah.
And that struck a chord with Milchek. And that's when you start to realize, okay, this isn't like them acting. There is someone on the other end of that microphone that's talking through this robot.
Was it Drummond maybe?
I don't know if it was Drummond. I think because Drummond was off.
He was off doing the goat thing.
Yeah. So I think it's this, quote unquote board or a member of this board, or it is Kier. Like again,
it could be a digital version of Kier.
It could be a digital. Like I think that, like again, as I was saying before, like I think that the legacy of Egan exists in like a digital form, right? And really, you talked about Endgame for what they're trying to do. It's clear that Mark and Gemma were a test subject. They're a test subject to see if this can work. And I think that they very much prove if someone can organize the tempers of someone's brain, they can be reconditioned in a way, right? And rebuilt. And I think I'm wondering if that has something to do with it. It's not about, I think it's not about necessarily getting that right off the bat. I think maybe these former Egan leaders exist within the confines of some sort of digital interface that they need to then be sort of uploaded into someone's mind. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, I also just like the fact that even the canned laughter is much more subdued.
Yeah,
correct. Milchek chirps back.
Do they have like specific canned laughter options, like confused laughter?
Yeah, like someone just like gently pushed the button rather than smacking the button. Right?
It's like an R trigger on the back of a GameCube controller. It's just like depending on how far down you press it.
Yeah, because when he responded back with a not approved joke, referencing that this wax statue was 5 inches taller.
Yeah.
He almost like the robot turd processing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he did like a bunch of buzzing and zzz, 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 zzz. Thank you for that, Seth. Right? And he just said it to him like
so good.
So it was really weird. But that's another example in this whole episode. There's a few actually, but like just weird bizarre situation, but dark ass strange comedy that has you chuckling and like also really uncomfortable with what's going on. And even like when the spotlight comes over to
Oh,
Milchek and
man.
he's not there, and then he comes out and he's like, he does his little arm jig, and then he's like dragging out, Kier so that they can
When
have the
the
band
marching
come in.
band
And
comes
I'm just
in.
like,
Well,
what is going on?
speaking of choreography and merriment, oh my gosh, what a sequence. Like the fact that those hallways are usually always so white and clean and quiet, specifically, for that to be like the loudest. Like Darcy, you were saying you got new AirPods Maxes, and it's just, that was like, I had to turn stuff down because I was like, this is louder than I think this show has ever been.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure Dylan hears it. Like, you notice him like look up, be like, "What's that noise?" Basically, when it starts.
Yeah.
So like, it's very loud. I also just like the fact that Milchik was leading the marching band. Does that mean, is that like the floor director's job? Because would Cobell have done that if she was still
Right?
there? Like,
And I don't think she could have pulled off those dance moves that he was doing, because
no,
those were
the rolls. Oh yeah,
incredible. Oh my gosh. When they start the Ballad of Amber and Gunnel, I was like, that's fantastic.
You were gunneling, bro. You were gunneling.
It was gunneling. I think the idea that we were kind of talking about before we get to the moment with the goat, and in my mind though, I was thinking Gemma is a vessel at this point, and maybe to your point, Justin, I think a lot of us sort of think, like, I for the longest time thought Jaime was going to be the vessel in which Kier would be entombed, or brought back into, or something like that he couldn't have his own body. He would need another body,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
given the example of moving consciousness. So my thought would be, oh, Jaime is going to come back inside of a male body. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Could they have been conditioning Gemma as this host body for Kier Egan?
I don't think so. But I don't think so. I think the whole goal was to identify a strong test subject, and also understand the parallel to that, right? So I think what made Gemma a strong test subject was Mark. Was also like
again,
Mark,
that connection.
Right? That connection. So
Mark, she succeeded because Mark was the one doing the refining.
Exactly.
Again, that connection is important. And
right.
Again, I think the whole end goal was to have a blank slate, so that the next step could be then, tackled. Because again, this was a huge stepping stone that they needed to cross. So this may have been the first time they get a blank slate to then move on to whatever comes next.
To that point, the woman who, I again forget her name, we should just call him Fucko. That woman is running down the hall and she's yelling, "It's the spouse!" Right? And so that might absolutely be it, is that they discovered that they need a spouse or a partner on each side.
Someone with a huge connection to what they're refining. Basically.
Right.
It doesn't have to be marriage. It could be familial for all we know.
Because
that they share memories.
Because the Outie's not, like, in my mind, the Outie's not fully gone, right? In this situation. Even though Mark S is the one doing the refining and stuff like that, what's informing him and making him successful is the resonance of his outie.
The fact that he feels something no matter what, basically. Like, he'll show up to work and still be feeling sad because Mark was feeling sad before that.
Exactly.
And so, like, the fact that when she entered that room she felt nothing was a huge stepping stone, because that means the outie has no impact. Like, they put her in her outfit that she was wearing when she was leaving for that one dinner. Like, everything about that was meant to trigger something in her.
Well, it triggered her when she was getting dressed, right? Like, she like started to realize
before she went back in that room, though. As soon as she was in the room, none of it mattered.
No,
that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
This episode was also way bloodier than I anticipated. We already brought up the crazy fight, but yeah, the moment with Drummond, and just seeing Mark in that moment covered in blood going down the hallway with he's looking like it was like a 007 kind of like thing going on, and the camera was a bit shakier than it normally is. It
felt very horror movie in that moment, right? Like, like the that theme within horror where there's something sinister that's happening underneath. I think Cabin in the Woods was the film that I'm thinking of, where underneath there was like a whole slew of things going on. And I don't know. It felt like that was very much what this additional level was. It was like a house of horrors in many ways, and Gemma was was the victim. And as soon as they get down there, just things get bloody, and it's wild. I chuckled because it was like he's like telling you, he's like, okay, when we get down there, my outie is gonna be here, and you're gonna take him, and then he just it just like fires off. It was wild. I didn't expect it. I was drinking at the time and almost spit my drink out because I was so shocked. But
it's laughter in it's almost like an uncomfortability.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
It's not conventional. Like, the whole time, even like we were saying with the whole milkshake presentation thing, like it's not laughter like like this is so funny. It's like awkward trying to make yourself comfortable and deal with this. It's like someone's got to laugh because this is hella awkward. But that so much blood, and I guess a lot of it was narratively so that he could use the tie to get the door down. I
mean, he did hit like the jugular. That's known to produce a lot of blood.
Oh, for sure. I know that.
A big guy.
But the fact that they had to get so much on him, right? Because for him to actually take his tie, slip it into the thing, right? And then it would actually,
it helps that the elevators are built for one person at a time. So
yes, absolutely.
We get to the, finally, Milchek has been tackling that big vending machine, and he finally tackles it over and breaks it. And we just see Dylan with the entire band behind him. Fuck you, Mr. Milchek. That moment for me, I was fist
Did you
bumping.
do this?
I did that.
Did this?
I did that.
Yeah, you did a
moment.
fist bump in the air. I could see you jumping out of your lazy boy, being like,
best.
"Woo!"
It was so good. I didn't spin any drinks up, but I did punch the air for sure. And then that final sequence, right? The moment where Mark is literally, I mean, it's cool because we've kind of seen in the intro for this season, two marks, right? Going in and around his head and throughout different parts of his brain and what have you. But they've always been two distinct marks, and they haven't necessarily always been working together in that intro. So going back and watching that intro, like Justin, I know you mentioned you watched the finale again before we started recording. I did the same, and I was just like, whoa, it's completely just talking about this struggle that this episode is highlighting the most of Mark versus Mark. So we end up in this final sequence, and he has that choice. Does he choose, Miss Casey in his mind, or does he choose the love of his life, Helly R? Darcy, was there a decision you wanted him to make? Did you want him to go one way or the other?
No, I mean, I think the reason why he decided to save her at the end there was, again, because Helly was talking to him. But I think a lot of it came from the fact that Mark apologized instantly for what he had done, for creating him just as an escape from pain. And meanwhile, he has created 25 personalities for this other person, and who knows what they've been through as he's doing this. So it's like he must feel remorse for that. Like it's gone further than just being his outie spouse. Now he has a connection to this person, and he's put her through such pain. So I think that's why he wanted to get her out. And then again, just that idea of just a bit more time with Helly is all he's looking for. He got her out. He did what he said he was going to do, but now it's thinking for himself. So I understand why he did what he did, and I can't wait to see how this plays out, really.
The idea
I have no idea where it's going next.
Yeah, the idea of going down with the ship. If we're going to die anyways, might as well get more time. Yeah, I like that.
Well, that's what they make it seem like. It's like they've already been told numerous times that the whole thing would be done. Devin says, hey, if we prove that they took Gemma, Lumen's done, this whole thing is done, right? Immediately. Mark S's concern is, well, what's going to happen to me and my innie friends, right? That's the compassion that Mark has, right? And to Darcy's point, absolutely. The reason why Cobell decided to tell him what Cold Harbor was, or what he was refining, what those numbers were, is because it would give him that compassion would come through. He would realize what he needs to do. But I think this whole season, you're absolutely right. Like, this episode is very much about the two sides of Mark fighting each other. But if we really look at it, this whole season has been about the two sides of Mark fighting each other, right? Like in a lot of ways. And I think this is the boiling point, right? Where he's been trying to do this whole reintegration thing throughout the entire season. And it's coming to a point where these personalities are so distinctly connected, but fighting each other at the same time. And that's what that whole that dialogue back and forth is really a highlight of. Like I was saying before, it's like he can't not, Mark Scout can't think that Mark S is entirely wrong, right? I think that's why he's annoyed at the same time, right? He's not submitting. He has his own personality and his own identity separate from himself, but they're both the same, right? It's such a head scratcher. So, you know, I think you're right, Darcy. I think he felt empathy. He felt sorry. He also recognized that it was Miss Casey, right? So he has care for Miss Casey. So to get her out and to do this for her is probably his drive. But yeah, in that moment when he gets her out, he did his job. He did what he was asked of. Well, now he's going to be a little selfish and take that opportunity. I thought it was not a twist, but it was to be expected. But I think everyone might have anticipated, oh, he's going to go off and they're going to live happily ever after, and they're gonna think, no, he did the other thing. He said, you know what, I saved you, but I don't need to be with you. I can still save what time I have and be with the person that I value and love as Mark S, the innie. So it's interesting it'll be interesting to see how the ramifications of this episode affect season 3.
Yeah, because I mean, now Mark is probably gonna be trapped in Lumen, and Gemma, if she's okay, again,
She'll
we were told
probably
that
be
she's gonna
okay. She'll
die,
probably find Devin. I think it's going to flip now. It was all about trying to get Gemma out. I think Gemma's now
and
going to
next
be trying
season
to
will
get
be
Mark out, right?
Mark out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I've got some
yeah.
questions about next season, but just before we do, I wanted to just quickly mention and remind everyone that my outie loves a bookend. And the fact that this episode ends with Mark and Helly, but they're running down the hallway, the way the episode or the season began of Mark running down the hallway, but this time it's with Helly in hand and chaos has erupted in hell is so cool. The fact that it starts getting grainier and grainier and just gets that freeze frame, and the end credit sequence is gorgeous. Absolutely loved it. Let's talk about what's next. Actually, you know what? I'm getting a message from the board. The board would like to know, on a scale out of 5, what was that? On a scale out of 5 waffle parties, what would you give this episode and season? Justin L.
5 out of 5 for the episode, for the season.
Perfect. Darcy H.
5 out of 5 waffle parties,
Excellent.
both across the board. Yeah, so good.
Excellent. I concur, and we can send that off to the board. We were already getting into what's next, and talking about the idea of Gemma being on the outside, Mark on the inside. Before we get into that, there's some questions that I have lingering that I did want to just kind of ask in relation to a season 3, which there's going to be a season 3. There is no way that there is not a season 3 for this show. And it has to do with Miss Wong. I want to start there. She moved to the Gunnel Egan Empathy Center in Svalbard to steward global reforms. Does she come back? How do you think she comes back? And is there any credence to a lot of fans have latched on to the line in one of the episodes that Mark said, I think in episode 7, there's a kid out there waiting for us. You just got to reach out and grab her. Are we on the Miss Wong is Mark and Gemma's daughter that they don't know about? Anything like that?
Way too much. No, that she's way too old for that.
Okay.
Like, no, yeah,
Yeah,
no.
it's way too old.
People were saying that it could have been like a growth thing, like she's born in. She's like accelerated growth, like a Boba Fett.
No, that's I think that just overcomplicates it. I honestly think that she's going to probably have some importance, but I think maybe her family has importance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm not on that. I'm not on that train that it's their kid, especially given the fact that these events take place 5 years after her supposed death, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the kids, Miss Huang is too old, right? And
Okay.
I don't think like a regenerative thing. It just makes it that just seems like overly complicated and also just super convenient. Oh yeah, that's why she's older. We've generated her to be older and bigger. And
I think it'd be interesting if she comes back in some form in connection to Milchick, again, finding out his history and what it's like maybe growing up through Lumen as they were stewarded to be these interns or be these like floor managers or whatever.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I think again there's a lot of intrigue behind Lumen's kid development program, because we saw Cobell was taken from the refinery or mine there
Mm.
to go and work at Lumen and rise up through the ranks. So, and again, the fact that Milchick is spouting all these Kier beliefs and stuff like that so wholeheartedly without being severed kind of leaves me to wonder, like, what is his past and how did he come through Lumen? I feel like Miss Wong is another way to explore that avenue, because again, she's very, how's a kid working at this corporation type thing. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's a lot there to explore. Hopefully season 3 gives us a bit of that.
It'll be certainly interesting. I wanted to bring up the fact that, you know, when we like the last moment we see Dylan, he's got a giant band standing behind him who all seem like they're on his side. Do you think we're getting an innie army in the next season? Is it going to be, you know, the MDR, the remaining MDR members? Is it going to be the choreography and merriment band and the folks remaining at optics and design? Are they all going to form a big rebellion
Where they
It'll be
don't
interesting to
leave?
see this. Is this the MDR uprising that they spoke about from a while ago? Like,
Sure, maybe
yeah,
that's what it is, but that means they wouldn't leave, right? They could never leave. They would just be staying there. It's almost like they what's that?
do a lock-in.
Yeah, a lock-in, right? Where they just assume their position and stand firm, and no
and
one
don't do
can
any
remove them.
work?
And well,
And
yeah,
and
don't do
again,
any work.
Lumen would freak out because they're trying to hide all this stuff going on. So Lumen would respond. I think they, like, the innies do have power if they band together.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Gemma out there though now, like, you know, I think what's going to end up happening is Gemma is going to probably connect with Devin and Cobell, and maybe the three of them have try to figure out how they are going to get Mark out. Also with Cobell, it was like she's like, I care for you, Mark. Like there was such a, you know, especially given the fact that like she was living next door to him. She was very observant. I think that she picked him and Gemma to be these test subjects for this project, right? And to do this. And I think
I
that's
mean,
why
she designed
that's what I'm
all of
saying.
this
She
stuff,
designed
right?
all of it, but
Yeah.
I'm saying it goes deeper than just her designing it. I think she selected them
Yeah.
for this project, right?
Mm.
This test for Severance and how it was going to work. So I think that's why she was monitoring him and staying close to him. Like, you know, it's not like everyone else lived around her, right? You know,
Mhm.
you didn't see Bert, you didn't see everyone else. She lived next to Mark. So what's that about? Like that you know, I think we still have more to unpack there in regards to you know, Cobell and her involvement in all of this.
Well, you mentioned Bert, and immediately the image of Bert and Irvy came up into my mind. Somebody online on Twitter made a beautiful artist rendition that Justin and I saw you post of Bert and Irvy. Are we seeing Bert and Irvy back again? Did Irvy get on that train? Is he coming back?
Irvy got on the train because that's what we saw,
Hmm.
but he's bound to come back, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cobell is interested in how he knows about that elevator.
Mm.
Because like when Mark's like, "Oh, I know what you're talking about," the look on Cobell's face is like, "How is this possible?" And I'm gonna guess if they end up talking a bit more, maybe Irving will come out, or the Irving
Maybe
will
they'll go
come up and
find
be like,
him. Maybe they'll go
they'll go
find
find
him.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
track him
I
down, be like, "What is going on? What were you looking into
I honestly think
before any of this started?"
I like
sure.
that.
Yeah, I honestly think the next season's going to be a flip, right? Like I don't know if we'll see Mark as much,
Maybe
right?
we don't even see as much going on inside Lumen,
Right.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I
And
like
like
that.
maybe it is about, you know, these three women trying to overtake Lumen, right? And like
Hmm.
get these people out.
Interesting. I do think by season 3 that there's going to be a moment where I think it'll happen in season 3 where the idea of severance and the severed floor will seem so small in comparison to whatever it is they reveal. Like it is so much fun to sort of look back, and I'm excited to go back and rewatch season 1 and just sort of see all the things that, like, given what we know now, sort of seem like, oh yeah, okay, that's whatever. That's not as big of a deal as we initially anticipated it was. Even for me, like with the going back to the episode 7 and seeing all the names on the different doors and them being the file names of the different personalities that Mark was making. I have a whole list of all of them written down in my on my notes, and I'm like, is this another city that was near Kier, or like all this stuff, right?
Well,
And so just the fact that we can sort of break it down, and once we get these answers, I'm so excited to see how much smaller the concept of Severance is made by the time we get deep into season 3.
yeah. I mean, you talk about getting answers and having more questions come from those answers, and I guess one of my biggest things is not only got the answer at what Mark was working on, what were the other people refining?
Yeah.
Who were they refining? Like,
that's
what was that whole aspect? Like, because clearly Gemma's not the only test subject; she's just the most successful one. So, what's going on there? And like those rooms are walking by where they can't all be Gemma. She only has 25, and they were hundreds of doors down there. So,
I think Severance is going to be important in all of it. I don't like I see what you mean by being made smaller to a certain degree, but I think that it's going to be the driving force of what unifies what their end goal is and why it's so integral to their end goal. Because like the show's called Severance, so it's obviously the theme or the thing that is this center of the story. But yeah, like I think that we're there's going to be a point probably when we get another reveal where it's less about how fucked up Severance is, but how fucked up that idea is, where it might be like why they're trying to perfect Severance and for what purpose. That is going to probably make us go, whoa. You know what I mean? Like, that's wild. Yeah.
Whoa. On the right side of Drummond's hand. Okay, the last thing I want to ask, and then we will wrap up this fantastic, mysterious, and important episode, is it just me? Maybe it's just me, and maybe I'm just reaching here, but did it sort of feel, and it could have been a look from Helly, but did it sort of feel like maybe, just maybe, in those final moments that when she slides into that room and says Mark, and he's now having to choose, that's Helena Egan and not Helly R. What do you guys think? Did they do another switcheroo?
And I'm wondering if that, I mean, even earlier than that, when Helly's saying I'm her, like, what if at that point she was just Helena from that moment? Because I don't know, Helly was like, get me out of here, I don't want to talk to James again, type thing. And that's how Helena knows that James was here. And I don't know, there's something, Helena's performance throughout this season, especially when she was trying to be Helly, she sounded so believable when she was bad mouthing Lumen and Kier and all the ideals behind them. So she clearly feels that on some level, if it's so believable coming from her. So
yes, and that, I think that goes back to the idea of what I was saying before, that sure, sometimes you could argue the innie is the most truer version of yourself, but I think she understood how to win those people over and how to kind of adapt, and probably understood the general sentiment that people had about the company that she's running, I guess, right? So she was able to kind of play into it. But I don't know, guys, those first 4 episodes, I was like, she is not her. And it wasn't until she actually came back and she was all upset and she was super sort of thing that you really recognized the difference in her performance and her personality, that it was like, okay, it's her. But you called it. The big thing about it is that she remembered that Jamie came to visit her, right? And it's only this, only the severed people would remember that, right? The innie would remember that, not the outie. So I don't know. I feel like the whole sentiment of that moment in that hallway was who he really is, which is with Helly, and who he thinks he is with this woman that he doesn't know, right? That his outie knows. And I think that was sort of the decision that he made. He was selfish. He made the decision for himself. And I don't know if you can really wrong him. Like, I think the whole reason is to kind of make you appreciate, kind of have a conversation. Should he have done it or shouldn't he have done it? A lot of people are going to be like, well, yeah, he should be looking out for himself. And other people can be like, no, that was selfish of him. He should have gone through that door. He should have left with her and they should have gotten the hell out of there, right? Like he knew what was going on. So it's a topic of discussion. It's going to have people wanting, like, just talking about what was the right choice there.
But if I'm Lumen and I'm the top brass, I'm the board at Lumen, what's the only way we can keep Mark S in the building? Send her down there. Because in my mind, Helly R said, "See you in the equator. I'm done. I'll see you on the other side, brother." So in my mind, she was done with Mark to a certain degree. So for her to run back, and yes, you absolutely could argue the idea that she's in love with him. She runs out of there, of course, 100%, and it very well could be Helly R. I'm just positing the question, the idea
there's definitely room for it.
There's room for it. There's always room for it. I think though, I think the purpose of what that scene was meant to do was to show the choices that Mark had to make in that moment. You know, was he going to listen to his outie, or was he going to embrace who he is as an innie? And that's what he did. He embraced who he is as an innie and said, "Fuck my outie." Right? Exactly what Dylan's outie said to his innie. "Fuck you." Right? You know what I mean? Like it goes both ways. So it's like, I don't know. I feel I get where you're coming from in that possibility. I just feel like to do that again and like the deke out, well, it wasn't really her. It's just, it would be treading on something that they already did. I feel like that's the other caveat with it. And I also think that like whatever's going to happen down there, it's going to be the two of them against Lumen. So we'll see.
I like it.
Two of them and Dylan and his army, of course.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Dylan and his army are going to be are integral.
He's got to learn those dance moves though if he's going to lead that army. You know what I mean? He's got to learn some of those body rolls and stuff.
His and for Dylan too, with that whole letter situation, it's now been a motivator for him.
Yeah.
To understand that his outie appreciates him and values him and is not him.
Again, it was nice to see something positive come from Severance. They're really trying to show you both sides, how it's not this ultimately evil thing. Like there is some good that can come from it.
Interesting. Well, only time will tell. I've read today that apparently they're saying it absolutely will not be the same amount of time between seasons this time around before we get to season 3.
I think they're waiting to announce if it's going to be just a season 3 or a season 4 and a season 3 or a season 3 and 4 back to back sort of shoot kind of thing. I think they're trying to figure out if there's a way that they can.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they also. I wouldn't be surprised if they also to say that it'll be done after 4 seasons. Like that's the story they're telling. Because Apple does like to cap their stories,
right? But like I was saying before with Lost, like Lost didn't know where it was going to end until ABC said, "Listen, this is it," and they threw that at them, and then they had to rush to an ending that, you know, mixed reviews, if you will. But with Severance, and because again, people have learned from Lost, but also just the idea of storytelling, it's better to know where you're going rather than just trying to work to where you might be going, right? Like so I feel like Dan Erickson, who's the showrunner and writer of the show, I think he's written this with the intention of knowing where it's going to end.
Yeah,
but you're absolutely right. Like is that 4 seasons? Is that 3 seasons? Is that 5 seasons? Like, is it, you know, we don't know. And I would love it if someone came out and said, "Listen, this show is going to be X amount of seasons." I think that will help people understand where they're going. Right,
the scope of things too, and how much longer they need to be, you know, struggling along by these crazy answers, and then more
because this isn't
questions. And
it's
stuff.
just not sustainable to run a show like this for like X amount of seasons, right? Like you're gonna at a certain point, even if you wanted to do a spin-off, right, and do like another story about Lumen, which I could see happening sooner rather than later, given the success of this show, that they would want to explore, well, what's build out the world of of Kier and Lumen and the
Do
history and
Kier
stuff.
founding Lumen, like the
Yeah.
original, the early days.
Do it in animation too.
like an 1883 or Yellowstone 1883 or
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Lumen 1885. Yeah, there you go.
You give it to Aardman and it's done in claymation, and that would be,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
like
And then it's actually a training video that you're
Correct.
watching.
That you
you
get
pull
to the end
back
of it.
at the end,
Yeah.
and then you're just Dylan watching this thing, and it's
And
like,
he's like,
the universes have collided.
And he just turns it off. That is
the fuck
it.
did I just watch? Turn it off.
Yes, you got to get another F-bomb in for sure. That is it for our spoiler-filled discussion for Severance Season 2. We hope you enjoyed this episode equally and with as much fervor as any episode of the Geekcentric podcast. And if you wish to commune with us and share your thoughts on this series or any of the shows or movies we cover, well, let me just kindly ask Justin L. to list the ways in which Kier's guiding hand can bring your thoughts to light.
Well, you can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. And if that's too much verver for you, then you can reach us on our socials, on Twitter at GeekcentricYT, or on Instagram and TikTok at wearegeekcentric.
Thank you, Justin L.
You're welcome.
You may return to the dance experience. Keep in mind, we have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies and TV shows, including our most recent spoiler-free reviews out now, like our review for Disney's Snow White. We've also got some great interviews to check out, like our interview that we already mentioned with Jessica Lee Gagné, who is the cinematographer for Severance, as well as the director of Episode 7. Justin had the chance to talk to her about her directorial debut, as well as they brought up the definition of a scripty, which was kind of fun to hear. And they geeked out over Jessica's favorite camera rigs to work with. We also have a great interview with James Marsters, who's best known for playing Spike on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He was in Toronto for Toronto Comic-Con, and Justin had a lovely chat with him about the impact of Buffy, his interactions with fans at conventions, and they talked about the convention. They talked about the connection between musical performance on stage and acting behind a lens. He also brought up Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z.
Had to,
of course. We also have interviews with the creative minds behind Daredevil Born Again, Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who serve as executive producers and directors on the series, as well as executive producer Sana Amanat and executive producer and showrunner Dario Scarta-Payne. So just a ton of excellent interviews out now for both your innie and outie to check out, either here on your podcast service of choice or over on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. We've got a ton more to look forward to, including more interviews, more reviews, and our spoiler-filled thoughts on Daredevil Born Again, which we're going to be dropping on the same night that the finale drops. And then after that, guys, the Force will be with us all as Geekcentric is heading to Japan to cover all things Star Wars Celebration. We are so stoked. It's going to be all of our first times in Japan, and so we're counting down the days. Again, it's a great time to be Geekcentric, so be sure to subscribe. Keep an eye on our socials. You can follow along every step of the journey. Justin L. and Darcy H. Thank you so much for joining me for this compliant, Lumen-approved, spoiler-filled discussion. And as we say, love ya.
I don't think this was Lumen approved. Laters.
Peace.